Buenos dias, hello and kia ora from Aotearoa, New Zealand. Our presentation today follows the paper Nodal Strategies for Sustainable Architectural Education, co-authored by my colleague Min Hall and myself, Magdalena Garbarczyk. Min and I are both lecturers at Unitec School of Architecture in Auckland, New Zealand. Min has 30 years of experience as an architect in New Zealand, and her current research areas are the history of earth buildings and prefabrication techniques for bio-based materials, specifically timber and straw. I have been practicing as an architect since 2008 in international firms in Europe and New Zealand and started my own practice in 2014. In terms of research, I'm interested in the place of architecture and architectural education in the context of the current climate crisis. Min and I both teach core architecture courses as well as sustainability electives in the bachelor and master programs. These screenshots, taken from different news platforms in the last couple of days, are illustrating only a tiny fraction of the ecological crisis we're facing that sets our daily context for teaching sustainability. After having taught sustainability courses and projects on our own, Min and I decided to collaborate and run an elective course together in 2019. This collaboration, including a very excessive amount of coffee breaks, made us reflect in a more critical way on how effective our teaching of sustainability was and what do students do with their learning once the course ends. We also realized that our research areas and ways of teaching were very different, but also very complementary, as together they were covering a wide range of what sustainable thinking is all about, from the really big picture to the application of the detail. So we decided to write a paper together as a way to record our reflections on the most effective sustainability teaching strategies. It's important to note that we initially wanted to center the paper around the idea of making because it was featured as an essential component in all electives and courses we taught since 2013, and because students' feedback on making was always positive because it made things real. We already had a plan for what we were going to do this year, which was based on a collaborative hands-on making environment, a group of people working side by side, building something in a workshop, and thought that writing this paper would support us in planning the course. And then 2020 happened, with its pandemic, lockdown, and social distancing. Making together wasn't going to be an option anymore, but we also realized it was not the only important component. So we started to think about different strategies. In the full paper, you will see that we looked for more insights into the fields of ecological thinking, psychology, systems thinking, and regenerative design. And we also analyzed our own experience of teaching since 2013. So we extracted the main pedagogical strategies and learning outcomes of this experience, as being design, research, seminars, workshops, making, conferences, tours, exhibitions, and presentations. And we synthesize our research, experience, and a bit of intuition into what we call nodal strategies. So those four strategies, engagement, making, outreach, and activism, are discussed in the paper. Briefly, engagement consists in building capability at three different levels, starting with self, the group, and the organizational community, with the purpose of relating each individual action to its effect in the wider picture. Making creates a form of engagement with materials, tools, and techniques that constantly crosses the line between theory and practice and offers an embodied experience. Outreach simply means that any work that's transformative or influential needs to be disseminated to fulfill its potential. This means that not only students who take the elective are influenced, but also other students in the year groups, in the program, or in postgraduate research. It also means that participation in public events, conferences, or exhibitions increases the value and the quality of the work, but also increases students' confidence and recognition of their work, which brings us to the last strategy, which is activism. We believe that activism can be nurtured by developing the ability to become articulate about the subject of climate change. We actually believe that all our learners should become environmental activists, whatever this might mean or look like for them. So in order to plan for a course this year, we revisited our past courses and assessed them against these 4 strategies. By the time we get to discuss this at the conference, we will be halfway through the course, but this is what we envisage to do. It doesn't necessarily mean adding a lot more material to our course, but rather being more conscious about the strategies we're adopting and aware of the effect that they may have. At the time of writing, there was a lot of uncertainty around the pandemic and how it might affect the way we teach. In the paper, we discussed 2 options, a competition or a project with a real client as alternatives to building at full scale, which we initially planned. And we got approached by a client, which was a really fortunate result of a visit in 2014, where students stayed in the community and created some relationships. So we're currently working on the design of a resilience learning center on the South Island of New Zealand, and I'm currently in the process of applying those 4 strategies with considerable input from our students. Our next steps will be to test how effective those strategies are, analyze the results, and possibly create the next iteration of strategies. It is important to note that the strategies we identified here are the result of reflections on sustainability-focused specialized courses, but they can be applied to the whole program. In fact, our position is that the current Western architectural education model really needs to evolve so that sustainability, a fundamental pillar of architecture, becomes the core of the program. Thank you very much, and we look forward to hearing your ideas on this topic very soon. Muchas gracias y hasta luego.